Hello, welcome back to Below Harvest History and part 2 of Walking in the Footsteps of the Brontes. In part 1 we'd just left Bradford and we were moving into Haworth. The Brontes moved from Thornton to Haworth in 1820, when Patrick Bronte was appointed perpetual curate at the Church of St Michael and All Angels. The exact date of the foundation of the church is not known, although it is often claimed to date from ancient times. The first reliable reference to a church at Haworth occurs in 1317, and it appears that a new church was built in 1488 and extended in 1600. In 1742, Haworth came under the ministry of William Grimshaw, a leading light in the evangelical revival, and his preaching attracted such huge congregations that it became necessary to enlarge the church. The work was completed in 1755, and this is essentially the church the Brontes knew. With the exception of the tower, the church was demolished and rebuilt at the same site in the period 1879 to 1881. The old church at Haworth possessed a high three-decker pulpit, which was used by both William Grimshaw and Patrick Bronte. The pulpit was removed when the old church was demolished, and for many years was left to languish in an old barn at the nearby village of Stanbury. The upper deck of the pulpit has been preserved and can be seen in St Gabriel's Church in Stanbury. Haworth Parsonage remained the Brontes' family home for the rest of their lives. With a few years of the arrival, Mrs Bronte and her two eldest daughters, Maria and Elizabeth, had died. For the remaining children, the parsonage home and its Yorkshire moorland setting were a profound influence. It was where they grew up and where they began writing in childhood, where they wrote the great novels and poetry, and where they all, with the exception of Anne, died. After Patrick Bronte's death in 1861, the parsonage served as home to four of his successors, during which time a large gabled wing was added to the house. Haworth mainly consists of a steep main street, a string of 18th and early 19th century stone cottages cut into the Pennine hillside. Main Street is cobbled with stone sets, which Elizabeth Gaskett tells us they are intended to give a better hold to the horses' feet, and even with this help they seem to constantly danger of slipping backwards. The modern photograph was taken during Haworth's popular 1940s weekend. The old photograph reproduced here is believed to be date from 1860, when the parsonage was still home to Patrick Bronte and his widowed son-in-law Arthur Bell Nichols. In a report published in 1850, the health inspector, Benjamin Babbage, condemned the Haworth practice of covering the graves with flat stones, which prevented the access of air to the ground and growth of plants that would assist decomposition. The trees we see in the churchyard today were planted in 1864 as a result of the report. Babbage estimated that over 41% of the children in Haworth died before reaching the age of 6. In 1824, a new school for the daughters of the impoverished clergymen opened at Cowan Bridge, near Kirkby, Longsdale. For Mr Bronte, recently widowed and with 6 children to educate, the school must have seemed an ideal solution. In 1824, Maria and Elizabeth were dispatched to the school, followed shortly by Charlotte and Emily. The school regime was harsh, and first Maria, then Elizabeth were sent home with ill health, then died within a few weeks of each other, just 11 and 10 years respectively. Charlotte later immortalised Cowan Bridge as Lowood in Jane Eyre. Part of the school building forms a row of cottages, although the dormitory wing was destroyed by fire long ago. Every Sunday, the pupils from the clergy's daughter's school had to walk a distance of over 2 miles across a field to attend at Tunstall Church. It would have been a pleasant walk on a fine day, but in the winter the girls would often arrive cold and wet and sit shivering through the service. An outbreak of low fever, a sort of typhus, took hold of the school, and many of the pupils became ill. The founder of the clergy's daughter school at Cowan Bridge was William Carus Wilson, who produced a number of publications that were in regular use at the school. One of these was The Children's Friend, which includes exemplary stories revealing the preoccupation of infant mortality, often accompanied by gruesome woodcut illustrations showing dead children and executions. The issue of December 1826 included an account of the death of Sarah Bicker, who attended Cowan Bridge at the same time as the Brontes, and died there on the 28th of September 1824, aged 11. Sarah died of agonising inflammation of the bowels, and Kenneth Wilson's account concludes, I bless God that he has taken us this child, for whom the salvation would have best hope, and make her death the means of arousing many of her schoolfellows to seek the Lord while he may be found. Ill health was very much a feature of the school's early years, and at least 7 pupils died there or were sent home to die. Sarah Bicker was buried at the churchyard of St Peter's at Leck. Also buried here were the 2 other girls who died at the school, Mary Tate, who died of typhus fever on 14th of August 1829, aged 17, and Emma Tinsley, who died of consumption on the 6th of June 1831, aged 16. After leaving Woodhouse Grove, John Fennell had worked in Bradford as curate, before being appointed to the parish of Crossstone High in the Pennines between Hebden Bridge and Todmorden. Jane Morgan, Mrs. Bronte's cousin, had died in 1827 and was buried in the churchyard at Crossstone. In September 1829, the 4 Bronte children, accompanied by Aunt Branwell, spent a few days at Crossstone Parsonage with their uncle, John Fennell. Charlotte's early surviving letter was written to her father during this visit and describes how they spent their time very pleasantly between reading, working and learning our lessons, which Uncle Fennell has been so kind to teach us every day. The Bronte family were very much associated with Haworth, but they also had numerous connections with the nearby city of Bradford. There is a well-known interlude when Branwell Bronte attempted to carve out a career for himself as a portrait painter here. As well as Mr. Bronte's clergy connections, a surprisingly high number of the Bronte friends and associates had links to the city. In January 1831, Charlotte, aged 14, was sent as a pupil to Miss Wooler's School of Roe Head, Mirfield, where she met her lifelong friends Ellen Nussey and Mary Taylor. She spent 18 months here, working hard and carrying away a silver medal for achievement. Charlotte returned as a teacher in 1835, taking first Emily then Anne as pupils. Roe Head has been extended since the Brontes' time and currently houses a special needs school, Hollybank. The Bronte waterfall was a favourite haunt of the Brontes. In a letter written on the 29th of November 1854, Charlotte told Ellen Nussey of a walk she had taken over the moors with her husband, Arthur Bell Nichols. Arthur suggested the idea of the waterfall. After the melted snow, he said it would be fine. I had often wanted to see it in its winter power. So we walked on. It was fine indeed, a perfect torrent raging over the rocks, white and bountiful. So that's part 2, but I have a little extra now. We're going to go over to Leeds and we're going to try and find the toy shop that Patrick Bronte bought some wooden soldiers for Branwell on the 5th of June 1826, which was a pivotal moment in the history of the Brontes and really fired their imagination. This is Versailles' house. Pellegrino Versailles had a shop here which did sell toys. Patrick bought the soldiers for Branwell, but Charlotte describes how all 4 children immediately claimed a soldier. Charlotte named hers the Duke of Wellington, a hero of hers. So of course Branwell chose his favourite Bonaparte. Emily's doll was dubbed Gravy for his grave expression. And the baby of the family, Anne, found her soldier demoted with the title Waiting Boy. The children's play acting with the soldiers soon turned into written outputs. They crafted tiny books and magazines, designed to be small enough for their dolls to read. And they created worlds. First the Glass Town Confederacy, then Angria. And then, when Emily and Anne became frustrated with their lesser creative roles in their latter's development, the younger siblings' world, Gondal. Glasstown, Angria and Gondal were an incredible blend of the real and imagined, combining the Brontes' notorious creativity with what they knew about the outside world. And the sagas they sparked extended well beyond their childhoods, with creative production and prose and poetry continued in the group's 20s. In fact, it's occasionally proved difficult for scholars to identify which of Emily's poems are Gondal poems and which were inspired by personal feelings. Unsurprisingly, given the importance of these worlds to the siblings and the unfortunate loss of all their Gondal prose. It's tempting to see the Brontes' choice of soldiers as indicative of their personalities and later creative outputs. Charlotte, who picked the hero, remains foremost in our thoughts today. Branwell plays the villain. Emily has become a gloomy symbol of the Gothic moors, and Anne can't quite shake her reputation as a quiet one. It's easy to read Bronte juvenilia and look for the traces of the famous novels the sisters in the family would go on to produce, but perhaps we should look for the traces of these wild, passionate, collaborative worlds in the stories we've grown so familiar with. Not be awed by what's often been judged genius, but instead see children playing with their dolls. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with part 3 very shortly. Look out for your history.